best day I've had since being on the psychiatric ward 16 days ago, by far. Yeah. Um, I mentioned earlier, oh no, there was an attempt to make this 1950s Hollywood B movie with all the four elements and so on, the rest of the four elements, look modern and all the rest of it. But essentially, throughout the day, it has been like a multitude of Hollywood B movie type stunts. Like, commercial TV and radio from the 50s, type of ideas you see being promoted. The like commercial TV, commercial radio from the 50s, the 1950s car showroom with even vehicles trying to be noticed, and the rest of it. And there are drugs. I pointed out a while ago, I'm pretty sure, about with the Magic Man covers, how there's drugs from to get you to focus on things that you really wouldn't focus on. To focus on things for quite a long time that you really wouldn't pay a blind bit of notice to if you had any sense. But anyway, they had a stunt in the park that probably wouldn't have happened at this time of year. I correctly pointed out, well, it's the same type of stunt they pulled at my mum's down the park near me back then. I mean, this park here, maybe I shouldn't say this, but, I've sort of seen better window boxes than that park. It's like you walk in any direction and it's like you're essentially outside of the park. It's that small. But anyway, it's not really for me. Yeah, I have some better window boxes, but yeah, yeah. There's been attempts to escalate drug-ins, but identifying, the book Atomic Habits. They use like the type of habit stacking that they try to use, and then they run around to try and like engineer to try and reconfigure the habit stacking that they use. That's sort of another indication we'll learn on soon. But anyway, yeah, and it's just when you see it as people selling a whole load of things, and the ideas. I did look up psychiatry and on AI and whether it had really progressed since the 1950s in any substantial way, and maybe in a few ways it has. But I'd say its core and and a few other things are really 1950s type stuff. And I did come across some mention of the Red Scare, which is the anti-communist madness that swept the United States of America in the 1950s. Which sort of fits in with one of the elements, which I say crucible thinking type stuff. But there's that sort of vibe, isn't there? If on the surface at least, it may not be that way. Maybe being uncharitable there. But yeah, well, if that type of vibe does seep out into the trees, and whoever is performing downtown, and with, like, again, I keep saying this because it is so illustrative, the guy shouting his head off outside the coffee shop. I did say they will try to normalise that. I've got to pop into town tomorrow or Monday, and that type of stuff, the attempt to normalise that sort of behaviour, to run around and make it look rational and palatable to the wider audience, may take place. But yeah, it's like, in me seeing this stuff and sort of seeing it as 1950s, which is so indicative of it in so many ways, has been really useful. And to identify, to point out, look at the habit stacking, look at the atomic habits. Instead of saying, oh, look at the structures and so on, the sequences and so on and so forth, just boil it down to that. Habit stacking, atomic habits, 1950s adverts, 1950s top Hollywood movie, dynamics and stunts and so on and so forth, mindsets, and the rest of it, and the runarounds for all that. People now other people, as I've done, as I did during the real amalgam years. Ongoing, you don't pay it much attention, do you? But I did look at this app, AliExpress. Apparently, it's an app for stuff from China on the cheap, and they started one of the Middle Ages type puritanical, prudish stunts around looking at women and stuff like that. And it's nothing major, but I thought I'd just point it out there. Still on with that type of stuff, which is really. Best left to the era that it was so prominent during. But yeah, it's been. I mean, in revisiting the 96 to 2000, in some ways, it's in so many ways. Revisiting the type of vibe that was going on back then. Now knowing, maybe some of the ideas that were going on back then, maybe, but more importantly, the vibe that was going on then has been so useful. To see how crazy. Back then I saw it for how crazy it was. Now, 16 days after coming off the psychiatric unit, I've seen how crazy it is again. But the time's coming where I have to really put that aside and just get on with it without, that will need periods where I'm not drugged up, for example, in some sort of 1950s Hollywood B movie. Will that happen? Don't know. But yeah, it's been pretty useful. But yeah, today, I mean, this is yet again indicative of how wedded the ad men and women are to the advertising techniques and the rest of it. I had a meal today. I had lunch really early, and I don't think they were expecting it. So they cracked out one of the atomic habits, sirens and stuff like that. It's just on. There you go. So yeah, I mean, it became it's apparent, isn't it? The way it went when I left that ward, and then they tried to set things up in the car park for how it would go afterwards. The ad men and women, and the propagandists, and the and all the rest of it. I'm sort of realising now that even though I haven't really noticed it until now, I've been adopting a different approach, sort of just rejecting the ad campaign wholesale. It's like, I'm not buying it, and I don't care what stunt's pulled. I ain't gonna buy it. It's just crap. Had I been allowed in 2000 to do this, to see this through, like this, it would have been so useful. But now I'm doing it. Sure, there'll probably be drug-ins and so on and so forth around all that, but I ain't ever going to buy that ad campaign, the type of ad campaign that I see going on. Like I said, I can't see it stopping anytime soon, because I'm not sure whether the people behind it can really grasp what I'm doing here. When I let off steam and when I put things in their place and so on and so forth, by characterising, not least, all this as something that really does belong to the 1950s and always really did, then that's actually it's an accurate approach, even though some people might not like me saying it. It's an accurate approach. and it's so. So I mean, I don't think I believe in the term mental health, but if you want to use that term, I think it's really mentally healthy to to uh, to start getting on with stuff, to just get a life and just get on with stuff, and to for now take meds and see at a future date whether that can be worked with. That's a really worthwhile, healthy approach. And that other people can't see that. Or maybe they do, and I'm just, speculating here about other people's opinions I don't really know that much about. But yeah, it's a really useful approach, and I do come across these approaches that do work and are useful. It's like, so yeah, this idea of people running around dressing up like there's no tomorrow to be noticed and stuff like that. It's similar to the type of stuff I did during the amalgam years, where I was got into such psychological states that I was really worried about what I was wearing. And that again, you tie that in with this guy I knew, Mr. Boyhood, who turned into Mr. Babby Ass, who turned into Mr. Dynamic, telling me how to sit. And it's sort of that sort of policing of your clothes, your perceptions, your everything you do. Like me living a life of solitude and enjoying that life of solitude, which today at times I have. Not as much as the days when I said a week ago, I think it was, that I had a really real sense of homeliness, because that's the nature of the drug isn't it? These people out there, may or may not be stuck with their techniques and methods that they've used for so long. But it should be a case, to me, it's as obvious as day. It should be a case of, and it's like I've said in the past, though, do I do it? But like, this is a case of this shit, this stuff that I'm doing, it's really bloody working, and it's really the only issue I see is that other people may not really be able to see that. So yes, you get all sorts of dramas going on in the environment and so in the town and so on and so forth. Well, around me, sort of thing, like this thing in the park that probably would have gone on all day, like with them blaring music out, for me to sort of hear it and like I've mentioned about propaganda jukeboxes and stuff like that. That may well have taken place. If I hadn't mentioned it, I don't know. I don't know if there's a link with that or not, with the ad campaign. But yeah, just not buying into the ad campaign. Seeing it for what it is, rejecting it wholesale, and today has been as normal. I've been more, how I would go on. Although with all the paraphernalia, I wouldn't have had that. But this is more how I'd approach things. I do reject advertising, yeah. Maybe there was the desire for a certain type of denouement. There may still be a push for that. Where I'm the here I am, the daughter, and all that sort of thing. Look at me, I'll do this, I'll do it, whatever. Right? It ain't. That would never have worked. Right? Some sugar coated, is it? Depiction of life, total crap. It would never have worked that. And in seeing, like I said, how things went on the ward in the closing stages, and how then there were yet more attempts at setting the scene for when I came out of there and got back here, and so on and so forth. So like it just beggars belief that there's people who really do think that stuff is impressive. I shouldn't say this because maybe they might get disgruntled about that and say, "Oh, we got to do this, that, and everything now." But the amount of that I see is astonishing, really breathtaking, and they still think that, like with the Magic Man covers, that if they drug me up to have in my mind things I wouldn't have in my mind for long at all, I maybe look at something and completely move on, completely disregard, not disregard, but not even pay much attention to it, like with the 1950s car showroom and the cars trying to be noticed. Which I've done today, really, and it has been sort of back to normal with stuff like that. It's but it's a really effective approach. The danger is, as has happened so often in the past, and sort of is demonstrated when you get people running around trying to establish, oh no, we're not crazy, or like that Wayne Good did years ago as well. You just reject it. You just reject the advert. I would like to read a book, but obviously, that's part of the atomic habits. Part of the habit stacking is to piss about with that. McGimble, that I said I really liked, it sort of goes without saying that if something comes along that I really like, the ads, the people behind the ad campaign are gonna, pull stunts with that and then pull other stunts off the back of that and so on and so forth. It is bizarre. That really is in the realm of Dustin Hoffman in Little Big Man. Dustin Hoffman's character in Little Big Man, and so on. So tomorrow I've got to go out. Do I really need to say what are the type of stunts that'll get pulled? Not really. It just falls flat with me. It's just an ad campaign that I now see through so clearly and so easily that it beggars belief that I ever took it seriously. But again, like with the Magic Man on covers, there are chemical approaches, chemical techniques that can be used to get you to react to stuff like that in ways you wouldn't, which I do find so bizarre. Why that would ever be pulled, that type of stunt, when you wouldn't pay a blind bit of notice. Anyway, that's the way it is. Tomorrow I'm going to pop somewhere to drop something off, and I might pop for a coffee. I may leave it till Monday or Tuesday. As I'm saying this, I notice as we get the habit stacking and atomic habits, the pharmacological, the chemical techniques being used, which will then we will get atomic habits, I'm sure, outside the flat and so on. Pretty funny though, isn't it, when you think about it? But they've messed with my gimbal. The upshot of that is that stopped it working, sort of thing. The upshot of that is I'll get to look forward to a new one. Chances are they may screw that up, and if they do, then this just could become an ongoing process and all that sort of thing. But despite the drugging that's taking place right now, by far the best I've had since being out of hospital, since being off the psychiatric unit. something to build on, while there's more than a chance that they'll throw the kitchen sink to stop that happening any way they possibly can.